right, Ron?
Yep.
Good evening. I'll officially call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October 18th to order. Would you please all join us for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Zoller will lead us with the prayer.
Dear Lord, we ask for your strength and your blessing as we three commissioners make decisions for the citizens of Seneca County. We thank you for the ample rains and sunshine that you've given us, since we are such an agricultural community. We ask for your strength as we go through this election process, that the leaders will truly lead our country in the best possible way. In your name, amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Okay, we'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept the motion to approve the DVD recording of our previous board session, which was on Tuesday, October 11th, and the written index of that meeting.
Make a motion that we approve as outlined. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved, thank you. I guess I'd begin with saying thank you to the Reed Township trustees, Mr. Miller's back over here, as one of the three of them, for opening up the township hall here to allow us to have our meeting. We've been doing these quarterly evening meetings for 4 years now. So once a quarter, we're out and about somewhere in the county other than in the county seat of Tiffin, where we normally have a regular scheduled Tuesday morning meetings. So it's good to be out and about and accessible. I'm guessing maybe many of you wouldn't be able to make a meeting at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, other than Tom. He's always at all our meetings. So, and the media folks and others. But anyway, we appreciate you having this open for us. Any adjustments to the printed agenda?
I guess under all business, I need to talk about the investment committee, county investment committee, just a moment.
I'd like to talk briefly about a committee that I've sat on with branding. We're looking at branding, Seneca County, Tiffin, and so forth.
That's I committee.
Yeah, Charlene, give a little update on that.
Okay. I'll do one as well under Museum Advisory Board. Just sent the minutes before I came, so that reminded me. Anything else? Wonderful. Okay. I'm starting with old business. Let's start with your SIDEC branding.
SIDEC has started a search process to look at how we can best market Seneca County, Tiffin, Seneca County, Fostoria, and all the municipalities. And Charlene, you may want to elaborate on that. We've had our first meeting, and we're going to.
Charlene is Regional Planning Director. For those of you not familiar with who Charlene is, she's Executive Director for Regional Plan.
We had our first Seneca County City of Tiffin branding meeting this week, and multiple entities sit on that committee. There was myself and Commissioner Zoller. The chamber was on it, members of SIDEC, some owners of businesses, and other representatives throughout the community. And what this process is truly starting is how we can make a cohesive brand for the county and for the city of Tiffin, and how we can work that together. So we just started with looking at some RFPs, which are requests for proposals that were put out to other entities, that were done by other entities, for us to kind of get an idea of what we wanted to put out. So we did that, a brief little break up in groups and look it over, got that around, and at this point it's kind of in SIDEC's hands. They're going to be the administrator of the project, and we're all in that idea stage. So we're talking about what we would like to see, what we would like to go out and request for proposals. The city of Tiffin would be involved, and we're trying to figure out how we would brand the city as well as the county, and everybody would still, you know, and all the little entities that are involved, as well as like the downtown and the county offices. So we're in idea stage. We want you guys to know what's going on. And if you have any questions, so please ask myself or Commissioner Zoller or David Zach from SciTech. But again, we're just in that idea stage. We're just getting things rolling and starting to talk about putting together the request for proposals.
In the past, we were, part of our brand was the education community. We are so much more than that, you know, manufacturing, education, retail, agricultural. How can we fit all these things and really, it's a way of packaging, marketing the community to entice people to come in here, businesses to come in here and start businesses and expand businesses and so forth. That's kind of the whole process. And I applaud David Zach for initiating this process. It's a very thought-provoking process that we have to go through. So, just kind of an update.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, good job. Okay, the investment committee, that's your group today?
Yeah, we hadn't had investment in the county for quite a long time, and under statute, we need to do that quarterly. We have began that process again. We have rewritten the investment policy because it was antiquated. That investment policy will be sent to each of us for approval at next week's meeting. And I have also the investment review. It's done by a company called Meter Investment Management. It talks about what investments the county has. You know, just a quick look, the engineer has approximately $11 million for projects, and the county total was somewhere in the range of $16 million. So we do have investments and an investment policy, and we are meeting on a regular basis. The clerk of courts is part of the meeting. The treasurer, David Alt, is part of the meeting. And one commissioner is to sit on that committee. So we've reinitiated that and made certain that we're all understanding exactly what it is we're doing with the excess money that the county has to invest. So I would ask that you guys review that investment policy for approval at our next meeting.
All right, Museum Advisory Board, I'm one of the 3 commissioner representatives on that, and we will have a meeting tomorrow at 5:15 at our office in the back room. And that group is going to work on a SWOT analysis, is what they wanted to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't mandated to meet at least quarterly. But since we're in the process of going to have interviews next week for the museum director position and so forth, they felt it would be beneficial to start that process to assist the new director when someone's in that position come the beginning of the year. Just have that kind of information gathered up and started through. So it's what they chose to do, so they're meeting again tomorrow.
Without divulging a number, I mean, have we got numerous applications for the position?
5.
5, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and 5 are being interviewed. All right, then listed here under the old business on the printed agenda, Justice Center update.
Well, what I wish is that maybe we would move the airport discussion
sure.
out the front of those. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, but we can talk about that first, and then you can leave it your desire.
Sure.
That would be fine.
Sure. The information that I was just going to share as an update on the airport is that we had the airport director recently asked me to go out and meet with some of the property owners regarding some things that he was concerned with doing regarding the Tice property that the county has acquired now. And I was following up with him, and we asked our maintenance guy to do the same and follow up with things. So there's kind of 2 different issues, yet they're related because of that Tice property. But on the agreement we had with Jim Gallardo and verifying that these things were done, that with that agreement were to be done with the movement, he bought the house and the moving of the house and those kinds of things. So we needed to know where those things stood. Based on the agreement, there were set dates and closure of various things. We're fairly close on the closure of a number of items. There's 2 outstanding, but His son, I guess, attended the meeting yesterday with John Monson, our maintenance supervisor, and Brad Newman. And they're comfortable, they're gonna, get the final on the two things that weren't completely known, yet if they're taken care of or what has to be done. The one can't happen until, with that property is also a little extension of the road that is Hopewell Township. And the, interest from Brad is from the airport is to ask Hopewell to vacate that little section of road, then it can be ripped out, and the barricades or whatever's at the end of the road that was past the driveway of the home now could be moved up to the flow of the road. It doesn't look like there's just a driveway to nowhere or end of a road there.
Is that the responsibility of the individual who moved the house, or is that our responsibility?
No, that's ours, that's ours.
Okay.
But with doing that, the one thing is the capping of the sewer that has to be done, and we're guessing they closed it off at the basement, but the capping of it's gonna need to occur somewhere probably out there close, if not underneath that little road section. It's gonna be somewhere in there, so part of that, we're probably gonna discover that of one of the two things left to be done, but that's it. And then the other item with that is if we, based on the agreement, if we didn't wanna do anything with it, we would need, you'd either ask, Rhonda asked, if she goes, do I need to compose anything regarding from when the house was moved and it was supposed to be moved, or did you want to wait? By the agreement, we need to charge, unless we didn't want to do that. It was about 13 days from when, with the written date for the removal of the property before it was done. Otherwise, it was supposed to be $100 a day. So I don't know if we, otherwise, like I said, by agreement, we need to invoice or whatever, have her draw that up, but I don't want to have her draw that up if that's not an interest to doing those things. On these other issues, I think we'll get those settled out. I don't think there's going to be a problem there, because if we end up taking care of those, there's things too, but I'm not worried about that, unless any of you guys are, or we can talk about that. They've got to file the well with the health department, and our last communications with the health department, that wasn't done, but the company they had close off the well, or that's supposed to be, has to do that step. So I don't know if that's just in the paperwork, or if it is done. I'm not sure. The health department has to inspect it and give that paperwork to them, but we know that's in the works. And again, the sewer thing, it's gonna be a matter, once they determine that, it might be better timing to wait a little bit to close that, cap that off, depending on where they find that's at.
Well, my feeling, this is probably one of the smartest things that we've done as a commissioner, is instead of having that house tore down, allow an individual at their expense to move it and move it to a different location so that we still have a tax base for the house versus just tearing it down. And, anybody that's went through any construction processes knows there's delays and so forth. So the young man is 13 days late on fulfilling the contract. I don't think we should charge him $100 a day for being 13 days late. I mean, it's over and done. I would certainly highly recommend that we would just waive the penalty fee on that. Again, I look at it, instead of tearing the house down and losing all the taxes together, it's now been moved to another location. The county can still get taxes on a parcel. I was just appalled when I see that we move some of these houses out there that, because the fence lies within the FAA restriction. I mean, it just seems senseless to me, and finally we did something that was right and let somebody just move the house versus tear it down. So to go ahead and penalize him to me would be ludicrous to do that. So my recommendation would be, and I'd make a motion that we would waive that 13-day.
It's $100 a day, just put it that way, I guess, because that agreement doesn't have the number of days.
I would recommend that we would waive that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive the $100 per day charge and pass the date of the agreement that we had with Mr. Gajedo. Further comments or suggestions or comments? Like I said, I just think that, we had an agreement in place for a reason, and there was a lot of time, and like I said, we get faulted for doing these things to get it done, so we wouldn't be up against taking care of the rest of the property in the time frame that we are now. And so that's just my comment on that.
Actually saved the county, we had $30,000 in to tear the house down. But he didn't say the county, he saved the government, the federal government, because they gave the county the money for it. So taxpayers' money. It saved the taxpayers $30,000 because he moved the house, we didn't have to tear it down.
Although there'll be some expenses now that we'll have that, would have been part of that grant, if we move on those things. We'll see how that goes. Call the roll, please, unless there's further comments.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
No. Motion approved. Thank you. Okay, additional, on the airport update, and I thought Brad Newman was going to come when I talked to him this afternoon. With the acquiring of that property, then it was left in, and I was fully under the understanding that those trees were part of the reason that we acquired the property to begin with and why the house was gonna be torn down, which we ended up moving. That the tops of the trees are the problem with the FAA. So I told him, I said, maybe you're gonna need to be there to explain this tonight, because I think Commissioner Kirschner expressed he's hearing differently. So that's the final details of that lot, of what we're going to do with that, because Brad will be coming to us needing some money put in place to handle the taking care of those trees, and then pending an answer from Hopewell. I don't think that'll happen this calendar year, I don't know, it takes a number of days when you vacate something, so.
I know my hearing's not great, but I don't think I heard differently. What I heard was that I was told that there's a problem with the height of the trees with the FAA flight path. At the meeting, is my understanding that the comment was made that it's not a problem, that it's unsightly. However, there might need to be a study done to determine that 700-foot, I'm not certain what it is, from a certain spot.
7 to 1 foot ratio.
71-foot ratio, yeah. Thank you for that. So, I think, at this point, we have reasonable people, reasonable good people in Brad and Kim Newman, in the Torontos, and certainly in the Petrosinos. And that we ought to at least allow them to have a discussion before a final decision is made as to what to do. I further think that when I contacted the prosecutor about what we need to do with the shed, my original thought was to simply deed enough land that would make it, that would make the shed on the Toronto's property. We have no use for the land, it's landlocked. I was told that the county can't deed property on a quit claim. I don't know that I fully accept that explanation, but that's what I was told. And if we did that, we would also deed part of those trees. So issue resolved, I guess, if that happens. So what I would ask this commission to do is allow the Torontos and the Newmans and the Petrosinos to at least have another couple of conversations towards trying to get it resolved. Again, they're reasonable folks, all good people. Rather than us try to cram something down, why don't we allow them to have the discussion and see if they can't come to some reasonable agreement?
And again, I guess we're gonna need Brad, maybe have that at the airport or something again. Like I said, he just had asked, because we were dealing with the issues that weren't complete, and we found the open well and things like that on that property, and start talking about the overall cleanup, because we've got some dead ash trees in there now that's on our property because we now own it.
Well,
And again, the tops
I
of the
just want
trees.
the will of the folks to dominate the conversation, and again, we have reasonable people. There is no reason for us to try to dictate exactly what the solution is.
Perhaps we could facilitate it.
Yeah.
Discussion, but I would agree with you wholeheartedly, Commissioner Kirschner, that seems to me that we can come up with a reasonable solution, that would satisfy the FAA's requirement, the Newman's requirement, the Toronto's requirements, and the other individuals that Petrosinos are.
I mean, if it's a hard and fast rule about the site view, that's one thing. If it's not, then it's just a question of differences of opinion that ought to be worked out.
And I think we need to resolve the shed issue, and if we can
Well, I think we
do
resolved
an
that.
easement or something there, that we can resolve that. It has no use for the county, and what we can do legally.
The legal opinion from the prosecutor's office was that we can't just move the property line. I mean, I know more formally whatever the deed would be done. was that we weren't allowed to, that was not an option for us. I didn't print that email, Stace, I don't know if you printed it or not, but,
Can we do an easement?
so we can do where, like I said, what we discussed, yesterday, late afternoon, was willing, you know, what, and I reminded them I'm only one, but I said, I'm okay with just granting something to the deed that says, for as long as that shed's there, unless you replaced it and or property changed hands, it can stay where it's at, and it's 6 foot onto our property, and it's not gonna bother
We've
anybody.
got the shed issue resolved.
Pardon?
We've got the shed issue resolved. I mean, I think everybody's happy with the easement issue. I don't think there's any question about that. The
Well,
question is,
With what I just said, though,
Yeah.
we have to put that on.
well, that's fine, that's fine,
Okay.
but I would rather have them finish up the conversation and do it all at one time.
I'm gonna say that was I just wanted to share, that was the discussion there, because moving the property line, I thought was a great idea, but obviously not something the county can do.
Mhm.
So,
I'm not yet convinced of that, but okay. Yeah, I know what attorneys say, but
respect their
it's,
opinion. I don't know.
well, that's exactly what it is, an opinion.
All right.
We can have further discussions, certainly.
So in resolution here, what we're recommending is that the entities get together and see if they can come up with an amicable resolution to the FAA regulation for the trees. And just to give everybody some background, from the center of the runway, the FAA allows restrictions every 10 feet.
If I may, it's like for every 7 feet, you can go up 1 foot. And so the further out you go, it's a progression of what needs to be clear.
Yeah, so here we got the trees that are pretty distance from the center of the runway. The top of the trees fall within that restriction. That's,
May I address the board?
yes,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you know, if you guys were okay with it, and, normally citizens' comments would be at the end, but because of in presence acts, appreciation of your time, here, and if there's anybody else on the same topic, we'll go ahead and allow discussion on the airport topic now.
My only comments are pertaining to this subject,
Yeah.
so I would
Yeah.
appreciate if we could
Sure.
this time. Okay,
Yes.
I'm Richard Fronero, my wife Andrea, we're the property owners involved here. We do have a prepared statement that I really thought, we had talked with Mrs. Stacy, we thought maybe the remainder of the board would need to hear a few things. We understand it's not gonna be resolved tonight. We just wanted to make our opinion known. And it's regarding the shed, you know, when we bought that property, Mrs. Tice and us, we didn't even really know where property lines were. We didn't care. It wasn't an issue. Put the shed up, she didn't care, we didn't care. Well, we get the survey after the county buys the property and we find out that the line goes right through part of the shed. My initial idea when I talked to Rhonda was, can we just get permission to keep it there until we sell the property? Or tear the shed down or something, nothing new that would be put over the line. And that's kind of what I'm hearing here tonight, and we would be more than agreeable to something like that. Okay. Regarding the trees and issues, Andrea has a kind of a written statement, just like you to hear a few things about our opinion on the trees, which, by the way, we've been told by Mr. Newman that any trees that were in violation of any FAA regulations have already been taken care of. The remaining trees do not pose any kind of a obstruction at this
point.
So, anyway, Andrea, I'll let you.
This is my prepared statement. My husband and I have always had a good relationship with the county airport neighbor, as we even use the airport services on a semi-regular basis. Several years ago, when the FAA rules changed the requirements for airports, a portion of our neighbor's land was needed to meet the FAA requirements. She at that time did not want to sell off just a portion of the land, but as she was increasing in her age, she wanted to sell the entire property to the county airport. When these talks first surfaced, my husband and I went to Brad Newman to ask if the Tice property, if it was ever bought, that the tree line that separates the two properties that give privacy and somewhat of a barrier of a sound to our backyard. When the purchase of the property and the moving of the house occurred, we again asked what if if the trees could remain after the move, still stay. The property had been surveyed and it was found that all but 3 very small trees were part of our property, and our tool shed was 1/3 now on county property. Rhonda Best and Commissioner Holly Stacy were asked to view the situation per Brad Newman's request. They reviewed the properties, and yesterday afternoon, all three reconvened with our neighbors, Petrosinos, and ourselves to discuss the property line. It was suggested that an easement be drawn to allow the shed to stay put until either it fell apart or we sold the property. The tree line was another matter. The county decided that it was in the best interest to tear down the tree line with no real reason given. The airport has replaced lighting to the LEDs and a stronger and a more efficient beacon light for safety. With the tree line gone, our backyard will no longer have a buffer from the airport, taking away that tranquil, peaceful space that we've always enjoyed for years, and partly for the reason that we purchased the property. Also at night, we will have to succumb to the constant rotating beacon light and the airport property light shining into our bedroom on the second floor. Now, to appease this matter, the great Newmans graciously said that they, cutting out of their own pockets, not the county money, they would purchase arborvitae and place it approximately every 5 feet on our property line and the Petrosinos line, and it would then become our responsibility to maintain. The problem is that this will take 8 to 10 years for any tree to mature, provided that they are a high enough tree line, which would be about 40 foot tall. Unfortunately, these trees will probably never mature to the height that is required to shield the light from our bedroom that our tree line now offers, or the county's tree line now offers. So it was asked of Brad if the trees have any bearing on our property line area, if it had any FAA requirements. Twice he has responded that it is not, but perhaps some trees may need to be topped when reached a certain height. We believe that those are actually on the Petrosino property nearest the runway. Derek Devine was contacted today to discuss the issue and said that yes, the easement for the shed would be a possibility. It was asked if the same could happen for the tree line. After recontacting Rhonda Best, he reported that the county now felt that the tree line was unsightly and needed to come down. It seems to not be a fiscal investment to tear down a tree line only to have the new property owners replace what is already there, and then there's also no time needed for the maturity of the trees. We ask that you take a look at the property that we have and see if this is what is deemed unsightly. Is there any way that we can have a compromise with the county besides tearing down the trees that may affect our property value and the loss of our solace and our privacy and our enjoyment? Thank you.
If I may add, we do acknowledge that something needs to be done with the property. It needs to be graded over, sowed with grass. I know the objective is to keep it as maintenance free as possible, and we get that, we acknowledge that. We don't think that's cutting down all those trees is necessary to do that. Grade it over, sow the grass, so we can mow it up to a point where we can still maintain somewhat of a tree line. That's our request. And you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Kirchner. Reasonable people can come up with reasonable compromises and reasonable solutions, and I think we're pretty reasonable, and I know you folks are, and I know the Newmans are, and I think we can come up with something. But we didn't want to rush to any decisions to knock everything down right away. We need to talk about this.
And it had to be discussed, because like I said, Brad's gonna have to, there's gotta be money put in place and things like that for it, and know what those things were anyway. So, yeah, there was no decision, as I did state out there, I wasn't making a decision for the county, okay. Just, everybody assumed that I was doing that, because I wasn't.
If they top the trees, would that still give you the privacy that you need? If it just, whatever, and I think this is what we need to investigate, if in fact the trees are within the FAA regulations. If they are, if it was topped, my question to you is, would that still give you the privacy?
It would depend on how much they're topped at.
And it would depend on where it was, because this is a 90-degree angle, and if you go this way, these are the trees way up closer towards the runway that we believe are the ones that Brad is talking about. The FAA says that they're going to need to be topped, which is not affecting
The ones that abut our property line are
these.
not
This is our backyard. and so we will lose everything.
If they cut them completely
If they
down.
cut, and that's,
Oh,
and
right,
that,
right.
and that is exactly what the county has proposed to do,
Bring your own chair.
cut everything
I know
down.
where we started, it's early.
I wouldn't necessarily say the county's proposed it yet.
Well, that's,
But I agree with Commissioner Kirschner, let's let level heads prevail, we got intelligent people. And I would be glad if one of the commissioners should facilitate this with Mr. Newman, the Cassinis, and the Torontos, and you guys come up with a solution, and hopefully that can be resolved. So everyone's satisfied.
that's what we,
In the meantime, I would recommend we do nothing until,
We're not in a position to do anything anyway, he hasn't given us
Yeah.
cost of some cost estimates, but they're not anything to act on, so that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else for old business? I think that takes care of all the old business.
Did you want to bring up Joint Justice Center that was on there?
Oh.
Or do you have anything
Yes,
to
we have an
update?
item out of order. Joint Justice Center, yes, we had that update. I printed it because it came, although I told you after that point. The weekly report came through. Anybody wants to see that, we've just making it a point to mention these in our weekly meetings, so that folks know that they're available if you want to get details and see some pictures and so forth on the construction of the Justice Center project. I'm going to read that to anybody, and I don't know if it's the wishes. Originally, we thought we were going to be discussing some things on the GMP2. This came through, again, I don't know what time it was, about 10 minutes before I saw it pass you in the parking lot. And I printed it, not knowing, figured you'd have access on your phone, but not to print. I don't know if you guys want to discuss this now, since we got it so late.
I think we need to wait till next week to discuss this.
But it appeared that the Gilbane got them numbers late today, and they knew we were meeting tonight, and so she sent this over, and I just told her I got it, and I sent it to the printer quick and picked it up and walked out the door. So I don't know what you want to do. You want to go into discussions on that?
Well, I just want to, I can't absorb this at this point because I don't have enough time to really look through it. But I want to make sure that the public understands that we are not $1 million over budget. Okay? And I know that's what the perception has been. What we talked about last Thursday at the Joint Justice Center leadership team meeting were issues that could take us over. Some detail in the final buildings that would be maybe more than what they had originally talked about. Some of the, kind of a Christmas list of things that we thought that we could do to improve the looks of the interior, the exterior of the building. So there are still many compromises to be made on the final cost of the building. So I just wanted, I'm not going to go through this with you because it's too boring, but the fact is we're starting 15.4 instead of 14.4. That includes all the wish lists, all the contingencies, all the items that we had discussed ad nauseum. But the fact is, when you come down to it, we have more than sufficient funds to cover the cost of the building of the Joint Justice Center. In fact, we will have excess money available at the end of the project to make certain that the proper furniture, fixtures, and equipment are installed, and that we can handle the transition from the probate and juvenile court over to the annex, and hopefully do a little bit of landscaping around the building so it looks nice. So the fact is, at this point in time, there are compromises being made regarding the total cost. The project is not $1 million over. It could be if we decide to do everything that we're asked to do by the architect. But I feel comfortable that plenty of funds are available to complete the project and to complete it in a timely fashion.
And we have a regular meeting of the Justice Center group on the 27th, that Thursday, next Thursday, at noon.
And please remember that there are over $600,000 in contingencies in the proposals. And typically, these projects of this size don't use all that money. We have had some contingency use on the GMP1, but we don't expect to have a large number, and there are a number of other costs that can be negotiated and reduced throughout the course of completion of the project.
Yeah, typically, what they say is that, most of your unforeseen costs are to get it out of the ground. Those are the variables that you just don't know. Sewers, rock, all kinds of things. Once you get it out of the ground, then it's kind of cut and dry. So.
Okay, then that is the Justice Center update.
One more thing.
Oh, yeah.
We did get the transcript done and we got it back, and the lady got it back to us and whatever, once we found somebody to do that, so that will be included in our official minutes. Transcript of the groundbreaking.
Okay, good.
Wanted to let you guys know we got that done.
Well, when we decided to have when the groundbreaking time came, we searched everywhere to try to find the speeches that might have been made that day, or to find some minutes that reflected, what the ceremony looked like, and just didn't come up with anything. I mean, Josiah had just spoke, it would have been nice to be able to quote some of the things from back then, et cetera. So we wanted to take extra special care that we incorporate all the proceedings in minutes, so that 5 generations from now, whoever the old commissioners will be at that point will be able to find this stuff.
And I guess speaking of that, we got together with Mark Simons and, actually Dr. Bing wasn't there, but hopefully at the next meeting, but we started talking about the list of things and looking at, there's in the book about, I think it's called Decompose or Decommission, the big copy book that was done when the 1884 courthouse was tore down. But there's pictures in the back of that of the contents of the things that they found in the cornerstone, and those things are at the museum. But so we talked about a preliminary list of things and some things to make sure we consider, and we're going to get back together soon if Dr. Bing can come on. He hasn't confirmed. I'll let you know when that is. If he wants to be there for that.
And just one last thing on the update for those people who don't come very often. We get a weekly update about what the progress of the construction is. That's posted on the website, Seneca County Commissioner's website. So you will know almost as soon as we know as to what's going on with the project. The only way you get any fresher is look at the live cam. But
That one I don't have up yet. I was out yesterday.
But I
And
mean,
this just came through this afternoon.
we're just seeing it, so they'll have it tomorrow and it'll be available.
That's everything with the Justice Center. All right. There's no further old business. We will move on to new business.
I have some bill vouchers here. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund. This is moving $2,500 from contract services to supplies. This is at the request of Common Pleas. A resolution authorizing a fund transfer be made to general fund. This is repayment $6.01 from the Sheriff's Community Correction Grant to general fund. We have a resolution appropriation adjustment within the M&R fund, moving $20,000 from his diesel account to his pipe account. We have an appropriation adjustment within the M&R fund. He is moving an additional $40,000 from diesel to his equipment line. I have an appropriation adjustment within the Community Development Block Grant Astoria ADA Restroom Fund, moving $1,880 from contract services to advertising. I have an appropriation adjustment within the County Sewer District Fund. This is for the reimbursement for some travel expenses from our Brad Bohr. He's our assistant, keeps check on our sewer districts. A resolution establishing Seneca County's health insurance COBRA rates for calendar year 2017. Varies between the base plan and the VIA plan, just like our regular plan. I have a resolution authorizing the road use maintenance agreement with Emerson West Wind LLC on behalf of Seneca County Engineer, Adams, Reed, Scipio, Thompson, and Venice Townships. I have a resolution authorizing the road use maintenance agreement with Republic Wind LLC on behalf of the Seneca County Engineer, Adams, Pleasant, Reed, Scipio, Thompson, and Thompson Township. And that's all the resolutions I have.
Move for approval. Second.
Put a motion and a second for approval on discussion. If it can be, I'm not sure how it's worded in here, but I would be interested in making sure that both the road use maintenance agreements for Emerson West and Republic Wind, which are both Apex projects. One's just gonna be the second project, it's gonna be about a year behind. Emerson will be about a year behind Republic. That those are with our approval, pending approval of all the appropriate townships. Because I think some of them did not have their meetings yet to do the approval, so I'm not sure how many on each one, but I know at least one township, maybe two, had not had their meetings, and I don't want it to be perceived that we don't care what they say. We've approved this through with their approval that we as well approved these, so can it?
Yeah, you can amend the motion to add the pending townships approval.
Okay, then I would move to amend both road use maintenance agreement resolutions to say pending all appropriate township approvals.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the amendment to the adoption. So we need to have roll call vote on the amendment, please.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes,
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yeah.
thank you, approved. So now we've got the motion as amended on the floor and a second. Any discussion on any of the resolutions?
I have a quick discussion, I'm just curious, what does that involve?
The road use maintenance agreement. It is, you guys okay with answering this before we do, okay. It involves the conditions of the roads. I think some of the trustees actually asked for an increase in the bond amount from the company. And Mark Zimmerman, our county engineer, worked with all of the township trustees, and they agreed to let Mark draw these up, so that there were standard road use maintenance agreements from township to township, and not different from the county roads to the township roads and that kind of a thing. So that's why they drew these up, and the company working with us and working with any county as they would on these type of energy projects want to have a use maintenance agreement. So if they're hauling everything in large trucks, because they're going to be on some non-traditional haul routes in order to get to some of these locations, is assumed, and that they have to maintain the roads and or repair them, and so that it details all of those things, the conditions of the roads and what has to be done.
Will it state in there, okay, the road needs to be replaced back to the way it was or better condition? I mean, none of it's just thrown in some patch or something like that?
That's my understanding.
Okay. I mean, what do we have to say if they don't live up to these standards, then what happens?
That's why they have to be bonded. The bonding is an insurance, if they didn't do it, yeah, and then prosecutor will go after them. There's no further discussion, call roll please.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes,
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yeah.
all approved. And at this point in time, this is an opportunity for citizens' comments. So if anybody would like to do so, our meetings, as you saw with I was getting it rolling here, are recorded. So we would ask that you would just please state your name so that the recording, if it doesn't see you, it at least will pick up that audio, so that's part of the record. So is there anyone who would like to comments, questions, concerns?
Well, I guess I can start. Well, my name's Chris Eamon, I'm heading up the Seneca Anti-Wind Union. I brought some folks up with me tonight to go over some stuff. I found out about the wind farms here just actually this July. I noticed an airplane was flying over my house, and I found out they were doing bat studies. After talking to some people, it was because Apex was looking at the Republic Wind project. I have a lot of concerns about this project, generally, I don't think they belong out in our area. We are, as you said, a rural area. I'm proud to live out here. I'm proud of the privacy I have. These folks here talked about their trees. I'm in the same position, but we've got wind turbines that could possibly come out. And I'm not talking about one wind turbine, I'm talking about hundreds of wind turbines, you know, and of companies that, in my opinion, have absolutely no regard to our rights, to our privacy, to our land, to our roads. You know, I mean, these are big companies, these are big investors, these are investors that are getting millions and millions of dollars from our government that has gone and started changing our energy from, say, coal-based or nuclear-based or gas or whatever to these renewables that we can't rely on. And our county is taking the stance, from what I'm reading, that they're going to host these projects through this alternative energy zone. I believe you guys have agreed to that, in Sandusky County as well.
That resolution, yes, was passed by a previous board of commissioners in 2011.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I have a statement I've prepared. I'd like to read it if I may. Okay, hello, my name is Chris Zeman. I have been a resident of Adams Township since 2009 when my family and I relocated here from Fremont. Late this summer, I learned of several wind turbine projects proposed for our area that are to be built by Apex Clean Energy LLC and Excellent Wind LLC. First and foremost, I oppose the development of any such projects in our county, as no possible good can come of anything of this magnitude. Additionally, the wind corporations are taking full advantage of us by leasing various areas of land to place these turbines without regard to the effects they have on our peaceful county. These effects include, but are not limited to, property depreciation, destruction of wildlife and their habitats, birds, many of which are birds of prey, bats, whom are responsible for controlling the insect population, especially disease-carrying mosquitoes, shadow flicker, noise such as infrasound, which can be responsible for long-term health effects and sleep issues, the latter being of substantial importance to myself and a couple of my coworkers that are joining me tonight, as we perform safety-sensitive jobs that require us to be on call all hours of the day. Also, through my research, it is my understanding that Seneca and Sandusky counties have each elected to be alternative energy zones, or AEZs. I cannot disagree with this policy more, as it is allowing these companies to take full advantage of us financially by only allowing a megawatt-hour tax to be paid rather than traditional property taxes. It disgusts me that these companies can come into our counties already blessed with enormous federal and state subsidies and then be given tax reductions by Seneca and Sandusky counties in the form of the AEZ. If tax money is what the ultimate goal is of our counties, then why allow these million-dollar corporations who are already receiving substantial amounts of public funding in the form of subsidies to get away with paying a mere pittance of what they should be? Thus, these are questions I have. I asked the commission on what they expect to gain from these companies with so little that will be paid out through the AEZ. What are the commission's plans on repairing and replacing the roads, bridges, culverts, or other drainage associated areas that may get disrupted or destroyed? What does the commission plan to do to protect the residents and non-residents of this county when mechanical failure or weather-related issues such as ice is hurled at homes or passing vehicles? Will the commission consider tax reductions as a result of property devaluation associated with turbine proximity to homes or property not hosting a turbine? These are all unanswered questions that I have, and I'm sure other residents have, that the commission needs to answer and accept responsibility on, since it is the commission who established the AEZ and allowed these companies to develop on our land. In short, the AEZ is nothing but another subsidy given to a major corporation at the expense of the county's residents. In the end, we will be left with little to gain financially and much to lose. Another big question, what about jobs? This is not some factory that's being located in our county that will employ a large amount of people and will offer good pay and benefits. That type of scenario would definitely deserve a tax break, but not a wind project. Apex alleges that 10 full-time local jobs will be created in just the Republic Wind alone. They also tout full-time job creation in its other two proposed wind projects as well. These will undoubtedly be technical jobs located in an office setting. They say they will be local. How far is local? What about 5 years from now, when all the hype tones down and they relocate these 30 or so local jobs to another location and operate all three projects with only half the people in one common office? I don't need to explain this, as only one needs to look at vacant industrial sites across our area. What about electricity and rates? The wind companies claim wind turbines will contribute all this electricity to the grid that can power thousands of homes. Maybe so, but I'm here to tell you that this electricity will be sold in the form of credits to the highest bidders. These bidders could be in Chicago, Miami, St. Louis, etc. It is all about money, and these companies have no interest in doing anything for our area but tarnish our skyline and disrupt our lives. Wind energy is very unreliable. but the EPA keeps forcing conventional coal-fired power generating facilities into closing, thus removing a reliable and consistent form of electricity from the grid. This will ultimately result in less supply while the demand continues to increase, thus raising our electric rates while we promote this unreliable form of so-called green energy. The EPA's current regulations are a travesty to our economy and have cost us thousands of jobs associated with the mining and shipment of coal for electric power generation, thus putting us in the position we are now. In closing, I would like to say that I am in no way against clean renewable energy, but only energy that does not intrude on our lives and properties or claim to be green when it causes so much devastation to our land, wildlife, and even our health. And if I may, it is hypocritical for anybody that touts their green to put up something that causes, bats, injuries or fatalities, bird injuries or fatalities. This is all part of the wildlife out here. You start removing bits of the food chain, well, then guess what? We're going to start seeing these West Nile virus mosquitoes, or who knows? We don't know, but this is all stuff that we need to consider. And then, like I said, my coworkers and I work for the railroad. We're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so we rely on rest. And I don't need to tell you, but you've seen the train wrecks in the news. Some of those could be rest related, some of them may not be. But the fact is, if I can't get my rest to run a train at say 2 in the morning, and I get an hour and a half call to come to work to Bellevue, and I'm talking thousands of tons of freight that I take up to Pittsburgh, and that's a lot of, we got hills and stuff up that way. I need to be able to be rested. It's me and a conductor up there, that's it. And if I got some wind turbine 1,000 feet from my property that's making whining sounds, I can't get my rest. Now who's responsible? I don't want to be on CNN if I plaster a train all over downtown Cleveland. So, this is just some stuff that this is a concern to me, and I think it seriously needs to be looked at. So, and I've got a lot of people that are sharing similar thoughts on this. So, I would like the commission to really start reconsidering all of this. I understand Exelon's filed, and they're wanting to put a 87 turbine farm up out here, 25,000 acres. They're looking at Republic Wind, this Emerson Wind, and then there's an Emerson East going out towards Huron and Erie counties. So
Emerson's right.
yeah, we're talking about wanting to develop the county and brand it. Is branding this county with a wind turbine really something we want to be proud of? And what are you going to do if I can't sell my house, or if somebody wants to buy property that's sitting here vacant? I'm not going to build a home out here, build a business out here. Unless I can host a wind turbine and gain something financially from it, what are we really gaining? The schools are going to get a little bit of money. The county's going to get some money. The AZ is not going to produce the income I think everybody's hoping it will, especially not like maybe conventional property tax money. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I would appreciate you guys taking the time to look at this, and I'd like to kind of know what you guys already do know.
I will share that after our citizens'
Thank
comments, thank you. Is anybody else with citizens' comments that would like to?
I would like to say something. My name is John Lynch. I do actually live in Eden Township, not too far away there. But I do hunt in Seneca County, and I don't know if anybody else hunts, but when you set a tree stand and you look at Seneca County, how pretty it is, but you're gonna sit there and see this all the time. Is that gonna be on our county seal? That's what we wanna have as our background? Maybe some of you it won't affect. Maybe it won't affect me. I'm not exactly sure. I do know that where I do hunt, I talk to property owners, and they have said, "Oh, we signed up for 2 of them." Great. So while they're building these 2 massive wind turbines on the place that I hunt, I doubt I'm hunting that year because everything's going to be drove out. Well, bulldozers going in, the trucks in and out, the cranes, and all that kind of stuff. This stuff's going to be here for 25 years, they say. What happens after 25 years? Are they going to keep rebuilding them, or are they going to break? Are they going to sit there for 5 years while we decide what we're going to do with them? Are they going to crash in a heavy windstorm when we get an 80-mile-an-hour wind? Are they going to be able to hold it? When you get this wind shear like we had a few years ago when Bellevue lost all the trees, and actually it happened just right here in the Republic. We lost a lot of trees in our area. What are they going to do? Can they hold that? I don't know. They took down trees in Bellevue that I couldn't put my arms around. So can these fiberglass blades withstand 80, 90 mile-an-hour wind shears? If they can't, I hope no one's driving on the road next to it, I don't know, there's a lot to this that people don't understand. He's mentioned birds of prey. When a bird of prey flies, it looks down for its honey. It doesn't look at what's coming straight down at it. So you got all our new bald eagles that just have become something now in this area. Now you watch, you see what happens if this goes up. They're gonna be looking down at the mice, whatever rodents they're looking for, and next thing you know, but it's okay for wind turbines to kill a bald eagle, but if you touch one, you're going to jail. So I understand government actually allows a certain amount. That's okay. They deem the amount that's allowable that loss. And I don't understand how that works, but I just love the county as it is. I love the county. You talk about us being a farming community. We are. I mean, you can't go anywhere without a tractor being in your way these days. And if we're such a farming community, why are we selling our land off for wind tunnels, for wind turbines? We make money off that ground before we put that wind turbine on there. You don't know what's going to be there after that wind turbine's done. Maybe your son or your grandson's problem to worry about, but once that thing's over with, and maybe the company backs out of their deal to tear it down the proper way, maybe you're stuck with some dinosaur. I don't know. But I know when my trains, I go the opposite direction he does. We go west. You go out there past Lipstick and Laddie, out in that area out there, there's 200 of them. And take your time, it's only an hour drive, go west and see if you think that's a beautiful sky. At nighttime, all these red lights just, I can imagine if you're laying in you're gonna have the blinds pulled because you're laying in your bed looking out the window. Lights. All night. 200 of them all going at the same time, and it's just a massive, it's amazing how many there are and how big they are. It's amazing. I love the fact that we're trying to find other forms of energy. That's great. But it would be different if you and I, our electric bills were cut a third because we're having to put up with our property values depreciation, our landscape looking like it is, our wildlife maybe deteriorating, but we're getting something in return. We're not. I mean, no offense to the farmers, but that farmer is getting something, he is, and that the electric company's getting something, the Apex or whoever, they are, but you and I aren't. So I don't, when you want to see renewable energy and all that kind of stuff, that's great, and it is great, but maybe it should be on some place in the dunes or someplace where it's not affecting anybody. But to put it scattered throughout our county, I've seen what they've done out west. I used to live in Arizona for a brief period. Out there, they take a chunk of ground, a big chunk of ground, I don't know how many acres, let's say 100, I don't know, and it's all full. That's one thing. It's all contained in one small area, windmills like crazy everywhere. But here, you're spreading throughout the whole landscape, and everywhere you look, you're gonna see this. We've had some beautiful sunsets in the last month. And we just redid our porch in our house, and we enjoy sitting out there. My wife has a cup of coffee, and we sat there and talk. And I don't know where they're going, but I can just imagine that's what we're going to see. And maybe we'll get used to it. Maybe not. Maybe we'll choose another county to live in. I mean, I don't know, but it's just something I think that unless you investigate it, it sounds great. It does. You should think, hey, windmills, yeah, that's a good idea. Solar panels, great idea. All that stuff's really good, but you gotta see what it does. There was studies about people that when they shut them down for so many days, a lot of the area people reported their health, they felt better. So we don't know how scientific that is, but all these people said they felt better because these windmills were off for a week or something like that. So I don't know what they do. I've never lived by one. I don't know if I've heard rumor that it affects groundworms because of the vibration into the ground. I don't know if that's true, but there's a lot more to it than just stick them up and let's fix our roads. There's a lot more to it. And I wish I'd have known this in 2011, because then I would have done something about it then. I must have been asleep that day, but I missed it, and it's saddening to find out that it's coming, and we were asleep at the wheel. We didn't have a chance to voice an opinion, and probably could have done a lot better. That's all.
Anything else for citizens' comments? And
I'd
we'll
like to add one comment.
state your name,
to
please,
all those.
for the record.
My name is Carol Burkholder.
Thank you.
I have lived in Scipio Township for 40 years. I spent $2,000 today to have a dozen trees planted with the hopes that they will grow up fast enough, so I'm not looking at wind turbines all around. But my one comment that I'd like to add to these guys is I do not think it is fair for a small percentage of the population, basically the farmers or the large landowners. And by the way, I have 3 brother-in-laws who farm. They've signed contracts or leases. We cash rent our farmland. But I don't think it's fair for a small percentage of the population to be able to basically trash our whole state and cause harm to eagles. Last week I saw 3 bald eagles on the side of the road I live on, and I think it's a shame. Windmills, they kill birds of prey that are important, and I hope never to see a wind turbine in Seneca County.
Any further comments for citizens' comments? Yes.
Doug Myers, I live in Thompson Township. I just have to echo their sentiments there. You know, like, we've lived there for, I don't know, about 15 years now. We bought our house. It's nice and peaceful. It's one of the draws that we, you know, when we started to raise family, we wanted to live out in the country, you know, for the peace and quiet, to have the open space and everything. And like John was saying, you know, we have a nice deck, you sit out there, you talk, you socialize or whatever. And as he was saying, when you go through, you know, I went west through Payne and, you know, seen all the windmills and the wind turbines. And like you said, at night, you know, it's just a great big sea of red. I mean, they all flash at the same time. And to be out on your deck and to see that, you know, for the remainder, you know, who knows how long, I just think it would just ruin your nightlife, you know, your peace of mind and everything, just to have these things in your backyard for everything. So yeah, I don't support it. I would like to, you know, like you were saying, if we could find an area where it's non-populated, but to have them spread out throughout the county and everything, I don't think that's good for the people who live here in the county.
Are there any further comments for citizens' comments?
My name is Heidi Brodman. I have a friend who lives in Van Wert Township, or in Van Wert County, and have been kind of corresponding with her over the past 6 years of just problems that they have had with their wind farms there. And I think that's one of the things that people who are signing these leases have not done. They've not done their homework. They haven't talked to people who are living with these wind farms. And I also have another comment about Apex, which is a company that doesn't have a really good reputation about paying its debts. And I've gone through several articles where they haven't paid some of their suppliers, and then those liens are passed on to the farmers who have signed these leases. And the farmers then, they can't sign or sell any of their land because there are liens on their land. And these are things that I think people have not talked about. They haven't considered. And like I said, you can go online and just Google Apex and some of the problems that they've had, and they're not a good company.
Further comments for citizens' comments? Tom.
I have a comment. My name's Tom Reinbold. You mentioned earlier about the number of people in here. I think that's great. You know, people are voicing their opinions about things. You need to come to the meetings. I know you can't always get to every meeting, but it's great to come to the meetings and see what's going on. I've been doing this for years now, and you need to come to the meetings. I just want to express that. Normally there's 2 of us, maybe 3 at these meetings, and people complain about things, but they don't know what's going on. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I will state a few things that I'm aware of that I'm not gonna attempt to answer all of your questions, because I'm not attesting to be an authority on this at all. I just know from recent updates I've received from Apex, and studying of the resolution that was passed and asking some questions of that, to make sure I understood the payments and so forth, but in general, the alternative energy zone was passed by the board on October 17th, 2011. At that time, Ohio had, I don't know when, but Ohio had presented itself to allow for the alternative energy zones for the commissioners, local counties to choose to be an AEZ area. Otherwise, Ohio wouldn't probably looked at this based on the personal property taxes. It would really make it too front heavy. They would never invest in Ohio. Some of you probably think that's good, but that's just a fact. The AEZ program keeps it flat rate over duration of operations of the project versus that property tax and with depreciation and so forth. And again, I'm not attesting to be a finance expert either, but the payments extended over the life of the project versus just based on the depreciation, is how I understand that. 9,000 a megawatt, and this Republic is proposed, and it cannot go over 200 megawatts, that's 1.8 million. There was a question on the dollar figures, that's it. 2/3 of that goes to the schools. 1/3, if you were looking at 1 megawatt, let's say we're talking at 9,000, 2/3 to the school would be 6,000, 1/3 to the counties and the townships, that's 3,000. Of that amount, the county, I believe, this, I'd have to read more on this and studying this, that we can choose to put $1,000 of that into the general fund, and then the rest is split the same way that the property taxes are assessed out with the townships. So we share that, the remainder of that with the townships is, again, my understanding of that. I do know that they're going through a number of the environmental studies and all of the different steps that they have to do to be to where they're at, and my understanding of where they're at currently from a meeting I held on an update I received from the representatives on the 13th was that when they, prior to filing their next papers with the Ohio Power Siting Board, they will be at the stage where they have to hold a public meeting within 10 days of that filing. So that will be coming soon in November is when they're anticipating they'll be having that open house. And when they do that, they'll have all the maps and information, and that's when they will unveil the potential sites. There's lots of acreage. They've got under, as mentioned, lease agreements with individual property owners, and those are with individual property owners and not with us. So whether they have done their homework and used a lawyer and checked into those things, I cannot answer that. That again, that's a private decision an individual landowner would make, not the county. Those meetings will be coming up, and Apex does have an office located at 122 East Main Street in Bellevue, Ohio, 9 to 5, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Nobody else wants to add any comments. I just wanted to at least share some of that general information, so it made the article in the paper, about some of the stages of what I understand is coming up.
Let me expand upon that a minute. If you got
and we will keep the comments limited just to wrap up the meeting, if you don't mind.
For the AEZ, if you got a $9,000 per megawatt hour, correct? Okay, now what if these wind turbines are producing this 200 megawatt hours they say they produce? Come on, the wind doesn't blow every day. And if the wind blows too strong, there's a braking system on there where those things won't continue spinning just to keep them from blowing out of control. So I mean, if they're not spinning and producing this money, how much money are you going to get? And then you're splitting it up, between 4 or 5 school districts? Bellevue's probably going to get a piece, Clyde's going to get a piece, Mohawk's going to get a piece, Tiffin's going to get a piece. What's going to buy some buses? I mean, we're pretty still going to see levies. And if you're going to invite these people here and give them this gift, then tax these people. That's why they're here. That's why they came out. You gave them the red carpet to come out and build here. Other counties have pulled this AEZ because that is what has happened. So, if you truly are wanting to put money into this county, then this AEZ is not it. But regardless, this county is going to get destroyed. Okay, I'll tell you right now, if these things are by my house, and I can't sleep, I'm going to leave. So, I've got a job to do, I've got a family to feed, I cannot live out here and even expect anybody else to, except for these handful of farmers that may get a few $1,000s and retire. But like Mr. Lynch said, you know, what does their kids think if they're gonna get this property? They wanna sell it, who's gonna buy it? So, that's all I got on the AZ.
Any further comments for citizens' comments? If not, so no further business, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion with adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. Whatever time it is, I do not know.
8:12.
What's that?
8:12.
8:12. Thank you.